Thanks for being my guest today on the show, The Marketplace. And let's settle with the first story. Government's budget for some of its flagship programs could reach almost 13 billion cedis in the next 2 years. Documents cited by Joy Business suggest that these are the numbers that have been projected as cost elements for these programs by managers of the economy. Here's a breakdown of these numbers in the following report.
Details of some government documents sent to the country's donor partners showed that it could spend about 6 billion cedis by 2020 on free SHS. This year, government is projecting to spend a little over 1 billion cedis, hit 2 billion cedis in 2019 and 2.8 billion cedis in 2020. Checks by Joy Business showed government has this year disbursed 20.8 million cedis as of January. But for the IMF country representative, Natalia Koliadina, this showed a more sustained means of funding should be established for free SHS.
I'm sure that you have kids and you want those kids to have access to free high school education, isn't that right? And this is a very expensive program, and not that many countries embark on a program like that, providing free senior high school education to every kid in the country. So it has to be financed to begin with, and it has to be adequately financed to provide good education. And also it has to be financed from now and forever, so that all future children, future generations would have access to this great program. So I believe that now is the time of thinking that essentially you would all like to have these services and development programs to be implemented by the government. You're behind them. At the same time, revenues are needed, because this is what will take Ghana out of being dependent on aid.
Another program, the National Builders Corps, will take almost 1 billion cedis for the next 3 years, while the $1 million per constituency could account for about 4 billion cedis from this year to 2020. But looking at challenges with revenue mobilization, it is not clear how government would be able to sustain funding for these programs.
Apart from that, the CSR Training Institute based in Canada is organizing an international masterclass in Accra for some corporate organizations to enable them understand the importance of aligning their CSR initiatives to achieving the SDG agenda. A reporter for Ziatu Adam was there and has come through with this report.
Businesses are finding ways to align their CSR initiatives to achieving the SDG agenda. Right here in this room, we have people from 10 different countries, from 34 organizations, to sit, learn, and share ideas about aligning SDG to their CSR initiatives. The CSR Training Institute program is organized biannually in selected countries around the world in line with the implementation of the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. According to the president of CSR Training Institute, when done, the 5-day masterclass will give participants the opportunity to understand how important their CSR initiatives will help make the world a better place.
Thanks. Well, we organized it because I think it's important that more people learn about the SDGs and how they really can matter for them. The SDGs are much more than some lofty government or UN program. The SDGs are real and meaningful for all of us. So the main objective of this class is to help people from business, government, NGOs, communities, academic institutions to understand the SDGs, how they're important for them, how furthering the SDG agenda can help their own businesses and organizations.
Some participants have been sharing their expectations of the class.
I think it will be interesting to know or to have kind of a confirmation that the things we are doing in terms of CSR is actually well aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And I can immediately, on top of my head, say, a few things that I feel we're doing right as far as the SDG is concerned. I mean, we may not be expected to do everything, but we just have to do our part. So in the area of water and sanitation, we're providing quality potable water for communities that don't have.
By the end of the program, I should be equipped with practical knowledge of sustainable development, corporate social responsibility. I've learned a lot, about the theoretical aspect of CSR, but I want to learn from the different, organizations, people from different organizations that are here.
My expectation is that as they live here, by the time they leave, we realize that being socially responsible, it's not just about your company, it's about the people out there. And when you are involved in this, it's to the benefit of your company as well.
The program in Accra is divided in two parts. The initial stage will focus on integrating SDGs into business strategy, while the second part will highlight sustainability reporting and communication. Fauziato Adam for Joy Business.
Now, some customers of microfinance company Man Capital have expressed fears they may be hit by another investment scam. According to the customers who have been speaking to Joy Business from Tamale, banking activities have virtually come to a standstill and workers have all disappeared. They say efforts to recoup their monies for the past 6 months have been without success. The customers say they have invested as much as 40,000 Ghana cedis.
I've been with them for about 3 years now. It's just last week that someone came to my place and was telling me about them. So I called the manager to find out. But he was insisting it's not true, but Wednesday I should come to the office. Really, I came. When I came, he explained further. So I asked him that some people even filled their form since, October, but they haven't gotten their money. It's there he told me that no, it's not true. It's December. So I asked him, what is the problem? He said they've put in the money, they've given it for loan to people, and they are not paying the money back. And I said, okay, so now, when I fill the form, when will I get my money? Now for the money, I will get it. But up to now, I've been tracing, coming up and down. I don't see him. If I call him, he will not pick. If I send a message, he will not reply. So we don't know what to do.
Feedback is not forthcoming. I think it is something like that. Because if it is a genuine institution, at least there should give us a feedback. You come here, no feedback. You call, they won't pick. You send messages, they won't respond. So it made me confused because I deposited my money with the intention to pay my war school fees. Up to now, I cannot pay the fees. I don't know what is happening. So you can imagine the situation they're putting me in.
Those were some frustrated customers of a microfinance company, Man Capital, in the northern regional capital, Tamale, and who are calling for government intervention because they suspect another scam to hit the company soon. Let's now turn our attention to other stories. And financial house AFB has hinted it will undertake a full rebranding of the company, which will become Let Your Go Limited, after receiving the necessary approvals from the Securities and Exchange Commission this year. Now, this follows the acquisition of the company by a Botswana-based financial and investment market player. This means the company can now expand its operations into other sectors of the economy. In an interview with Joy Business, after taking its turn at the facts behind the figures, the managing director of the company disclosed it will look for a different approach in financing small-scale businesses. Now, my colleague Ebenezer Sabuti took part in the facts behind the figures session today. He has joined me here in the studio to give some more clarity to the rebranding exercise of AFB. Now, Ebenezer, welcome to Marketplace.
You're welcome.
Now, what exactly becomes of AFB after the rebranding and how is it going to take place?
What it means is that after the rebranding exercise, AFB will no longer be a wholly Ghanaian company or a wholly Ghanaian financial house. We all know that AFB is one of the licensed financial houses by the Bank of Ghana, which provide services, financial services. By the Bank of
Ghana or the Securities
and Exchange Commission, okay, which provide services to SMEs, market women, and people who might need it. What happens is that last year, the Botswana company has acquired it. It has acquired 100% of the stake. So okay, either operations, equity, assets, debt, whatever, it's now going to be based in, the company, but the Botswana company is going to claim ownership of AFB. So therefore, AFB will no longer be AFB, but it's going to be the Let's Go, as you did mention earlier.
Now, is it going to affect the company's current status by way of people who actually...
It is going to affect it, but positively. Because what is going to happen is that now the company will be able to give out more loans. The company will be able to finance bigger projects or bigger institutions. So if it used to give 5,000 as a loan, now it's going to be able to give 20,000, because the Botswana-based company is one of the huge African financial investment companies on the African continent. So it means the company is going to be expandable. The company is going to expand, and that will be positive news for customers and also depositors of the company. But I've been engaging the CEO, Arnold Parker, who have been giving me some indications of that, so I would like us to hear him.
All right.
CSR has decided to become Africa's foremost financial inclusion services provider, and that is also where we are drawing our inspiration from. So we want to also become very much focused on financial inclusion. So when you hear Let's Go, what you are hearing is financial inclusion. You are hearing support for Ghanaians and Ghanaian businesses, and that's what Let's Go is about. Let's Go is based in Botswana, but is present in Lesotho, Swaziland, Namibia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria, and then Ghana.
What does it mean when you say they've acquired 100% of AFB? What does it mean? They've taken control, ownership?
Ownership and control. They have full ownership and control of AFB Ghana.
What would this also mean to your operations in Ghana?
Yes, it means that we are now able to serve customers better. It means that we are now able to even offer a lot more products. That's why you've just seen us launch education a few weeks ago. So it then means that we have now a stronger and a bigger parents to be able to take much more bolder steps in the economy as a financial institution.
Would this also mean that you pay much attention to the SME sector, because those sector seems to be neglected when it comes to financial assistance, the SME sector?
Yes, we'll pay attention to the SME sector, but in a very different approach. We are usually taking things differently at AFB, so we would pay attention, but it's going to be very selected. We'll look at it sector by sector, not just SMEs in general.
All right, so that was the managing director of AFB, financial institution AFB, which will soon become Let's Go after it rebrands, and that was the managing director, Arnold Parker. But I'd like to find out from you, AFB has been around over the years.
Yes.
Before the takeover, I believe they have a very bright performance. Can you share with us?
They seems to have a very good book when you look at their financials, because they are one of the companies, the small financial house that is listed on the Ghana alternative market. And today, are the fact behind the figures. When you look at the presentation, you could see that they've grown their loan portfolio, their savings and deposit, and you could see that the company have a bright future. So it's not surprising that such a big financial house have decided to acquire 100% stake in it. It's doing well, actually.
When are we looking at this rebranding exercise taking place?
Okay, so the CEO gave a timeline of by the end of the second quarter of this year. So somewhere in June, July, we should have it done. And it's going to be fully, it's not going to be half where you have AFB here and then, no, it's going to be full, yes. So it's going to be full rebranding.
Okay, so we're going to see the colors, the logo and everything change.
Exactly, to Let's Go, yeah, by end of second quarter of this year.
Right. Many thanks for your time, Ebenezer Sabuti. And that was my colleague Ebenezer Sabuti bringing us up to speed with the decision by AFB, Financial Institution House, AFB, to rebrand now to become Let's Go, because a Botswana-based company has now taken full control over the company's operations in the country. Let's now turn our attention to other stories. And the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries is to commence and is to hold the maiden edition of the CEO's Business Networking Cocktail in Tema to explore solutions to some key challenges that increase cost of doing business for companies located within the enclave. Several organizations in the area are yet to get out of the woods, while others are on the verge of collapse as a result of persistent setbacks undermining their continued existence. The Chamber of Commerce says the maiden business network session will afford the opportunity for several business stakeholders within the enclave to meet and network in order to come up with appropriate solutions to help reverse the trend. Daniel Osei Tobo is regional head at the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries.
We want to promote businesses in Tema because we realize that a lot of businesses, having interacted with a couple of them, we've realized that they they have challenges, and key among the challenges is bureaucracies and then the cost and ease of doing business in Tema. That's so the reason why we're doing this is that, okay, so if this is the challenge, then we are bringing the leaders or the heads of these stakeholders, we're bringing them together to network with the CEOs, and so that they can break that bureaucracy, break that hurdle of getting in contact with these heads of these key stakeholder agencies and institutions, so that they can penetrate this bureaucracy through networking for the promotion of their businesses, because a lot of businesses are going down, some by virtue of the fact that they are not able to break even, some because of the challenges they have at the ports, challenges with securing permits and things like that. So generally the cost and ease of doing business is breaking a lot of businesses down in Tema. One of the key things we realized was the bureaucracy. So when we're talking about the cost and ease of doing business, once the cost and ease of doing business comes down, it will translate into what promoting the business. Now, you've mentioned interest rate as one of the challenges, like an example of some of the challenges. So that is why the 3 MPs for Tema, who are politically in charge of the region, are coming to this session, so that they can as well have a session with these CEOs, get first-hand information as to the things that are peculiar to their business, so that they, as policymakers, will translate this to the government and then try and have remedy to some of these issues. Because a lot of these CEOs have good ideas that can really transform the audience. Getting these people to even have interaction with them, to share ideas, is the difficulty. So once these people are coming together, then they will have the opportunity to meet them and talk with them, and then share ideas, and these ideas will be moved on to a higher discussion, i.e. the government, to have these things resolved.
The National Insurance Commission is opening up the insurance space for reinsurance activities in the country. Now, this was announced by the Insurance Commissioner as a new company, Aviation, introduced its services in the country.
Currently, there are only 4 reinsurance companies operating in the country, with only 1 reinsurance brokerage firm. As a result, most insurance companies fear to underwrite big-ticket risk because of lack of expert advice from reinsurance brokers. This situation is said not to augur well for the insurance sector of the economy. It is against this backdrop that the National Insurance Commission is giving the nod to other brokerage firms to participate in the industry. Afro-Asian Reinsurance Brokers is the latest to obtain a permit to establish in Ghana. The Commissioner of Insurance is Justice Yaofori.
The market is not for only one entity. You need a lot of players on board to get proper services and maybe expose more technology. With our big businesses like oil and gas and marine insurance, where we don't have the expertise. Aviation, we do aviation insurance, but we don't have the expertise. So most of these businesses are underwritten from outside, and we just take their policy wording and then just sometimes front for them. But if we have a local entity that has the expertise, then it means that our local insurance companies can also take a bit of the risk, and that helps them to grow their capacity.
On his part, Managing Director of Afro-Asian Services UK, Udai Patel, says his outfit is bringing on board expertise to improve insurance awareness.
If you look at our modus operandi in Africa, in the 29 countries, we have always supported the various markets through training. And this is why we acquired the London School of Insurance, which has a 40-year history of training in Africa.
Board chairman of the Afro-Asian Reinsurance Brokers Ghana Limited, John Edukofi, is optimistic the company will be a central part of risk management businesses in Ghana for years to come.
President Akufo-Addo has indicated his government's will to prioritize aviation in the national development agenda to benefit from the gains in the developing industry. The president said this at the 57th International Federation of Air Traffic Controllers Association held in Accra.
To the 2017 figures released by the International Air Travel Association, IATA, the global air transport industry supports 62.7 million jobs worldwide. Aviation's global economic impact amounts in value to some 2.7 trillion United States dollars, with 3.5% of global GDP supported by aviation. Every day, 9.8 million passengers take to the air with 104,000 flights and some 18.6 billion United States dollars worth of goods are carried. IATA notes that air traffic globally has been growing at 5% annually and is projected to grow at 5.6% per year over the next 20 years. It is therefore important for governments in our respective countries to put in place the requisite investments in infrastructure and air navigation systems so as to respond to anticipated traffic growth and also to keep up with the dynamism in technology that the aviation industry demands. We must, as a matter of priority, ensure that the aviation industry sector is placed among the top priorities of our national development agenda.
Let's now turn attention to Ghana Month story, and Ghana loses close to 4.3 million cedis annually as a result of the closure of the National Museum 3 years ago. Experts believe this amount could cover the annual cost of tuition for some 2,000 deprived SHS students. Karen Dodo visited the premises of once a vibrant place of historical interest, which has virtually died down. She filed this report as part of our Ghana Month series.
This is the official car of the first president of Ghana, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Juxtapose that against the USA's late president, John F. Kennedy, and make your judgment. Worn out by the sun and rain in this lonely compound, the story of this car is no different from many other artifacts here at the National Museum. The National Museum, which was opened in 1957, is the oldest among the 9 public-owned museums in Ghana. It houses several sculptures that tell the distinct history of Ghana. Prior to its closure, the National Museum hosted an average of 10,000 visitors monthly, with about 90% being foreigners. Foreigners visiting the museum pay 40 cedis per tour, and Ghanaians pay 5 cedi. It is therefore calculated that government is losing about 365 cedis from the National Museum alone in a month, and 4,380,000 cedis annually. The facility was closed in December 2015 for emergency renovation works after the roof of the museum's exhibition hall began to give way. This is, however, longer than the proposed 1 year for the renovation works. PRO of the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board in Subin Gai laments that government's low commitment to developing the facility is crippling its smooth running.
The works that the museum does is basically, if you look at the current trends of museum works and development, is what to do with partnerships and donor funding agencies or corporate Ghana or the corporate world supporting the institution. Basically, that's how museums grow, because the government funding is not enough as per the work they do. The objectives they set for themselves or the objectives that the nation sets for the institution is so huge that the national coffers alone cannot support that. So corporate Ghana need to come on board, and that is how it can grow.
He also agreed that there is more to be done to make the museum attractive and boost patronage.
Yes, the museum always has so much to do. If you look at the uncompleted structure of the museum, it speaks for itself. Because this was a temporary structure and this side was to accommodate the sculpture garden, and the main museum gallery was the space with the. It is true to say that the space itself is not, there's not so much going on. You know, museum space, time spent on the museum compound is what makes people spend. The entrance fees alone are not enough. So if the museum, as it is now, was fully completed, including the incompleted one since 1964, what it would have meant is that there would be so much time spent on the museum compound, because when you come, before you finish the main museum gallery and come to this temporary one, it would have been thirsty. A museum would have had branded waters that it will sell. The museum will have a restaurant. Before you exhaust or you go through all the exhibition, you will be hungry and you will come to the restaurant to eat as well. So because all of this is not complete, it's difficult.
I'm on the ground, like this statue here that shouldn't be. Now, government has revealed several plans and programs to help boost the tourism industry. For example, the Marine Drive project. But many are asking if these new projects are being done to the detriment of already existing monuments like this National Museum. Another question being asked is government is ignoring the importance of this heritage site as a revenue generation stream. Reporting for Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Quite an unfortunate situation there, but stay tuned for more developments in a Ghana Month series in our subsequent bulletins. And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. It's been great having you on board. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi Biafi. Have a good afternoon.